Congratulations, Marcia. So, hey, sorry about that for jumping ahead. So as I was saying, we're going to ask Dave Solano to make a presentation on the evolution of ebooks. And then after that, we're going to break into our small group discussions. And that's a really great opportunity to introduce yourself to some of your peers and have some conversations about some topics that are top of mind for academic librarians. And Jason will explain in a little bit how that works technically. But you will have the opportunity to have your phone line open up and have a conversation with a small group of your peers. And then we'll come back together as a big group and have a little bit of a discussion about what was talked about in the small groups, a bit of a report back by the breakout leaders, and then we'll break for lunch. So with that in mind, I am going to introduce Dave Solano. Dave's been at Springer for about 3 years and is the Director of Library Sales for the Northern U.S. Prior to joining Springer, Dave was at Blackwell Publishing as well as Cabby Publishing. So Dave, if you could maybe provide a little bit of context as to your role at Springer and then kick off your presentation, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you, Betsy. And welcome, everyone. As you know, ebooks are here and the proliferation of ebooks will increase significantly. Today we'd like to learn about your challenges with migrating to ebooks and what the right combination of print and electronic materials look like. However, before we get to the breakout sessions, I'd like to put the transition from print to electronic into perspective, as well as highlight some interesting trends we've identified with the usage of Springer ebooks. So to begin, let's have a quick look at this simple timeline. At the rate we've been moving over the past few years, it's hard to believe that it was nearly 2,000 years in between the time when the first scrolls were created and the time when the first personal computer was introduced in the mid-1970s. But it is true. And now, 35 years since that latter introduction, we've experienced the creation of the World Wide Web, PDF, let's get those going there, and the introduction of ebooks on SpringerLink in 2006. This evolution has also quickly moved since that introduction with the advent of mobile e-reading devices, through which millions of casual researchers are now accessing their books of interest. Although Springer's only been publishing ebooks since 2006, we've noticed some very interesting trends. In this first slide, the total usage of Springer e-journals and Springer ebooks over the past 4 years are plotted against one another. While it's worthwhile noting that Springer e-journals have been enjoying a nice growth spurt, it's even more so interesting to highlight the rate of growth of Springer ebooks. For example, in 2009, Springer ebooks usage on SpringerLink grew 36% over 2008 figures. Compared with the 19% usage increase of e-journals, that ebooks usage increase is quite exceptional. Based on these usage trends, it's not hard to assume that Springer ebooks usage will surpass the usage from Springer e-journals within the next few years. With the exception of some of our smaller collections, the usage between subject areas is very similar, as you can see in this chart. Such a trend has illustrated to us that researchers from all subject areas are adopting and using ebooks. Another interesting trend that we've noticed is that the age of the content has little to do with what is being used in the present. For example, this slide, which is based on calendar year 2009 usage, shows the average number of chapter downloads per book from the copyright years 2005 through 2009. As you could see, content from the earlier years is being used just as much as content from the present. Along the same lines, it's interesting to point out that ebook usage does not follow the traditional 80-20 rule that so many have seen with e-journals. In other words, with journals, lots have seen about 80% of the usage comes from about 20% of the titles. Rather, with ebooks, we're seeing a much longer tail of usage. Instead, as you can see right here, we're actually experiencing something we're calling right now the 53-20 rule, where only 53% of the usage is coming from 20% of the titles. So why are ebooks being used so much? Springer believes this has something to do with the fact that books, much more than journals, have a much larger user group. For example, as you can see in this chart, the core user group of journals is basic researchers and applied researchers, which is a much smaller core group than that for ebooks. The ebooks group also includes PhD students and graduate students. This is especially true for Springer reference works and many textbooks. All right, now that I've got that little bit of usage analysis behind us here, I'm going to be moving on to introducing the questions that were actually asked, I believe, a little bit earlier on. The first one here, does your organization have a formal plan to switch from print books to e-books? It's actually very interesting, actually, here. The majority of you folks, actually 72%, vast majority, said no. Another question asked, what pricing models would you consider when purchasing e-books? Actually, this is kind of interesting here because if you add those percentages up together, well, it looks like a lot of folks are interested in buying by single title. And folks are actually also interested in purchasing by subject collection. Yeah.
It was multiple choice, Dave. Like you could select two answers.
Understood. I was wondering why one said 74 and the other one had 70s as well. Next question here. Please rate how important front list of titles versus back list of titles to your overall collection. Some folks have said important. Actually, the majority did say important, as well as very important. There were a few folks out there that said not important and somewhat not important, but it looks like the overall trend right here is that front list titles versus back list titles is either important or very important. Are you likely to buy the same book in print and online? Looks like a lot of folks are saying that it depends on the book, and then the other majority are saying no, which is actually quite interesting. And now for our breakout sessions. This portion actually will be led by either Jason or Betsy. And some of the questions that our colleagues here at Springer will be talking with you folks about are the questions listed on this board right here. The first question, what are your current challenges with print to e-book adoption? What challenges do you have with the coexistence of e-books and print? Second question, what would you like to learn from our panelists in regards to e-books adoption? How are/will e-books impact workflows? Are the current offerings meeting your needs in terms of technology, content, and business models? And finally, how could those models be improved?
Okay, thanks, Dave. Jason, would you like to explain now how the breakout sessions are going to work?
Sure, thanks, Betsy. Everyone, what I've done is we're all going to go into basically our separate own virtual meeting room. The groups have been divided, so everyone's going to kind of just break out into their own separate groups. First group is going to be headed by Dave Solano. Second group is going to be handled by Kim Hill, who is one of our licensing managers. Stephen Fallon is going to handle Group 3. He's also a licensing manager. Victor Lau, Group 4. He's a licensing manager. And then John Hopkins, who's one of my marketing colleagues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the start button. And Betsy, I know we're running a little bit late on time. How much time would you like to give everyone? I'm thinking about 20 minutes.
Yeah, that'll work out great.
Great, everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break us all out into groups. You don't have to do a thing. You might be prompted to join the session, and all you have to do is hit yes to any prompts that you receive. Some people will receive some prompts, some people will not. But just hit yes. You'll be your phone and your computer will go into that separate breakout session, and then the group leaders that are listed here on the presentation will lead the session with those questions. All right, so I'm going to unmute everyone right now. So you might hear a little bit of chaos. There's so many different people on the phone. But make sure when you jump into the groups that you may have been muted on your end as well. So make sure to unmute your phone. And then so all the group leaders, if you have any questions, just send me a chat message and we'll be able to help you. Okay?
Do we have two? Do I have to hit anything on this phone? Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So, one, no,
You found it.
your printer has said,
You want to switch to breakout?
Okay.